Now, avoid hire purchase smartphones, or in short, avoid these phones that you buy on loan and then there is this daily payment and what have you. And by the time now you clear paying that specific phone, you've actually bought like two of them and something of sort. You see what? There's something called financial literacy and understanding how to service debt and what have you. But before I even continue, I have to give this disclaimer. There is nothing wrong with acquisition of a smartphone if you're a content creator. If you use your phone to make money, maybe you take pictures, you are a photographer, you make content like me and all those kind of things. I mean, there is something that phone is helping you to generate the income. Not just getting maybe like 100K or 1000 USD phone just because you want to look good and all those kind of things. That is what we call the unhealthy debt. I have to give that a disclaimer even before we start this video, all right? And by the way, I did not say that people should not get smartphones. Smartphones are great and good, and that's why you're watching my content. But what I'm trying to squeeze into you is that it is good to understand what should be financed using a loan. Should we finance using a loan a liability, or should we embark on acquisition of an asset that is generating some cash flow? So there is a very thin line between those two things, and I want you to approach this video without the emotions. I want you to approach this video with an understanding that, guess what, this ought to be done and this not ought to be done. Now, the very thing that you're supposed to understand with these smartphones that you acquire them using the hire purchase on the loans ones, you realize that these phones, what happens is that you cannot afford it. That's why you cannot even manage to buy it in a smart, or rather buy in a cash way. You see, anything bought in a hire purchase in most cases falls under two categories, okay? Number one, mostly you cannot afford it. You cannot afford it, meaning you do not have the cash, okay, to buy it cash. Or two, you are doing what we call the smart moves to acquire. Or in short, we are saying you use debt wisely. You are using debt wisely, all right? See, it's two of these options. For example, let's say maybe you want to buy something. Let's say maybe you're a content creator, because we are talking about the smartphone. I was about to use a different case. Now, you want a very good phone, maybe let's say an iPhone or something also. I don't even know whether they give iPhones with loans. Let's assume they do. Now, you want that phone because it has good camera, arguably, or Samsung, whatever. I'm not advertising them, I'm just saying. Or maybe Huawei or Xiaomi, whatever it is you do regard, or Camon, or they have good camera, okay? Now, you actually have a photography business. You want to do photography, or you want to do the vlogging, or you want to do video recording and what have you, and maybe you don't want to go the camera way, buying the camera. So you can be able to acquire that, because you know if you get that phone with a loan today, then your business is running, is generating some income, then you can be able to repay back, instead of waiting until you save to a point where you buy that specific phone. Obviously, going the loan way, it's a brilliant move. I support it 1000% sure. But now here we have an individual who cannot afford the phone. And then you ask this person, maybe they're living somewhere, they're not even photographers, they're not content creators, they just want to go scroll and all those kind of things. And maybe let's say you buy that phone, and let's say the cash price of that phone is around 22,000 Kenyan shillings. That's like $200, okay? That's like $200. See, you go this is the cash price. But now, because you don't have this amount of money and you really love the phone, you go the hire purchase way. The hire purchase way, you have to deposit, let's say maybe like 6,000 or 5,500 or something of sort, okay? And then maybe you're told like you have to pay like say 300 per week, maybe 300 or maybe 300 per day. Maybe it can be per day or per week, whichever the way you agree. Some people usually are told you have to pay like 100 bob, 100 Kenyan shillings per day. You have to pay that amount of money. I don't know, for the next 48 months for you to be able to pay this. So by the time you do the mathematics, you realize that this phone will cost you like 42,000 or 44,000. Basically, you've bought that price double. You've bought 2x. And now the question is this phone, you're not generating any income with it. Now, the question is this. By the time now you finish to buy this phone, that is 48 months. That's like 2 or 3 years or whatever the period of time it is. I don't know whether it's 48 months. You have to compare that. You have to really counter check that thing, yeah? Sometimes they tell you it has to be 12 months or maybe 24 months or whichever the period of time it is. So by the time now you clear, 2 series of this phone has actually been produced. Probably. It's true. Maybe you bought a series A, maybe say you did this, and I'm using this as an example. Okay, let me not give examples of the phone. Let's say you buy a phone called XS1. By the time now you finish paying the XS1, the XS2 and XS3 are in the market. So you still need the next one. So you buy you still gonna do the same thing. You do the same thing. By the time you realize, you get yourself into this debt. And this 100 Kenyan shilling each and every day that you're committing yourself, you channel it towards a month. That's like 3,000. And I'm gonna use a case scenario of an individual whom I was having a discussion with. The guy is doing exactly the thing. He's paying 100 Kenyan shillings per day for that phone. Therefore, it means at the end of the month, the guy is paying 3,000. The guy doesn't live in quite elegant places, but where he lives is a bed sitter, a studio for those guys who are watching from the Western countries. This studio is costing the guy 3,300. It's costing the guy 3,300. And the phone is costing this guy 3,000 per month. Guess what? You're almost paying 50-50. Almost paying 50-50. The phone is eating your 50% of your cash, or rather 50% compared to that what you're paying for your rent, the same price that for. And this phone that you're buying, you're not a photographer, you're not nothing. So therefore, guess the name it is. That phone is a what? Is a liability. And if it's a liability, guess why it's liability? It's taking money from your pocket. Why? Has to be serviced in case there is any breakdown. Number two, charging. Charging, obviously, it means money because you must have paid that electricity. Three, you have to do what we call the airtime. You have to put some airtime. You have to buy the internet. It's a liability. It's eating all these things. It is actually taking cash out of your pocket. There's a reality. You cannot deny that. That's for sure. All right. Let's say maybe you're using that phone to watch Good Joseph channels and videos and what have you, and you're getting the thing. And maybe you're watching me with that phone. There is nothing wrong because you already have it. We cannot wrestle with the fact that something has happened. So the question is, how do we get ourselves into it as fast as we can and avoid that mistake or avoid the repetition of that mistake? So it's a liability. And this is how you entangle yourself into the debts. Because why I'm saying this, you're going to get yourself into the same problem. Because you're actually going, have you ever met somebody who is surviving on loans and debts and what have you, and they're not healthy debt? Debt's an amazing tool to create wealth. I cannot rest with that. That's a reality, and that's very true. But at the same time, it can be very unhealthy as far as the growth is concerned. Why? Because if you have this character and you're buying a liability, you find somebody is going out there and then is buying something like a freezer, a fridge, and what have you, water dispenser, carpet. Some even buy some things that are not even generating anything, and you're using the loan to do that. You don't buy these justifiables. You don't get all these gratifications using the debts and loans and what have you. What you're supposed to do is to go ahead and try to invest into something or with something that is actually generating something for you as you move along. And I'm going to tell you an example of what you can actually do. Let's say you cannot afford that phone, okay? Reason why you went for the 100 each and every day, because you can afford it. Do we agree on that? Let me repeat. Reason why you cannot, two things I want us to agree here. Two things. Number one, you cannot afford that phone worth 2,000 Kenyan shillings. True or not true? True. That's why you're going the higher purchase with. Two reason. The other reason, they gave you the conditions of paying each and every day 100 Kenyan shillings. And you said yes, because you can afford. True or not true? True. Therefore, that means then you have the capacity to commit 100 shilling each and every day doing something for the sake of your life. Do you know one thing? If you were to commit that 100 shillings each and every day, the rest of the entire stretch of the year, guess how much you'll have? 36,000. And guess what happens now? That money you're not putting it idle somewhere. You pick yourself a money market fund that you can be able to deposit that 100 shilling each and every day. You're going to have yourself close to 40,000 at the end of the year. Guess what now you have? You not only have your phone cash, but you also have an extra cash on top of that specific phone. Or you can even probably buy a better phone compared to that. If, after all, phone is a big deal to you, it's a thing that you have to have it, you don't have any way you can negotiate and all those kind of things. But if you can be able to be a little bit flexible, delay some of the gratification, and you can actually acquire that phone in a different way. So instead of actually that thing, how about then you service something like generating cash flow? And I'm going to use an example here. It may not be the best example here, but I would say you would rather go with it or for it compared to going with the phone one. What if you go ahead and buy yourself like a second-hand motorbike? And I'm not saying this is the best idea you can ever do in town. No, I'm saying it is the best, or it is better compared to you acquiring the phone. Now, you ask yourself, if I go ahead and acquire the motorbike, second hand, maybe for that amount of money, which is 22,000 or something, because there are motorbikes you can buy with that amount of money. Or you can say this, because I do not have that money to do that. For now, I have that 5,500 that I could have done what we call the deposit. All right? Then I commit myself with that 100 Kenyan shillings. In a period of 1 year, guess what? I have myself over 40,000. I have myself over 40,000. Actually, we are talking about close to 50,000. Now, with this amount of money, I can acquire myself a what? A motorbike. Let's say you're a mason. Usually use transport, whatever, and what have you. You can get this motorbike. This motorbike, after the job at the evening, you can do your border thing. You can generate some income. Or you can actually acquire this motorbike, give it to somebody to bring you at least 300. You can even call it at 250 shillings each and every day. I know there are these struggles of, hey, where's the guy? Oh, today is not. But at least there is something coming in. At least there is something coming in compared to your acquisition of that phone. And that's why I said it's not like the ultimate best idea that you could never take. But you'd rather go to that route. Because this motorbike does not depreciate at the rate which the phone is depreciating. You cannot compare. If someone buys a motorbike and one buys a phone, both of them, you might call them liability, depends, assuming that this thing, you are just using it to carry yourself from one point to the other, not for the businesses, for the leisure. Both of them falls under the liabilities. But you compare the rate of depreciation between the two, definitely the rate of which the phone is depreciating is a bit low. You might also argue that the motorbike would consume more than this, but if you can actually think of how you can use it to generate some income, you can be able to get yourself to the next level. And this is how we beat poverty. Usually use the simple steps that you have. We call them the baby steps. You try as much as you can. You minimize the liabilities. You minimize the unhealthy debt. In that process, you acquire the financial literacy. Once you acquire the financial literacy, you take the first action. You be consistent. You sacrifice. You be disciplined. That way, you get a certain amount of money. You commit that money towards a business or an investment. And I usually say, if you have this amount of money, you can commit it into a what? You can commit it into an investment. Or rather, you can commit it into a business that is generating something for you. That way, you can make what we call the baby step, and as you progress to the next level. By the time now you finish those 2 years to pay that phone, you not only have an outdated phone, but the reality is you also have what? The money is gone, and you could have bought 2 of them. You get what I'm saying? Okay, so it is good to make sure that at least you understand this financial literacy and what have you. Or you can acquire a phone that you can afford. You see, from a range of say 12,000 all the way to 22,000, there is a phone maybe perhaps you can acquire. Maybe you have this 5,000. How about you just do some delayed gratification? So you're about to commit 100 Kenyan shillings. You're about to commit 100 Kenyan shillings each and every day paying for that phone. Then how about you do this? The month one, you're going to have yourself 3,000. So 3,000 plus 5,000, that is 8,500. So how about you commit another month? Guess how much you'll be having? 11,500. How about you commit another month? You're having yourself like ups of the 15,000. Come on, that amount of money, you have a very nice presentable phone that you can do something for the sake of your life. And you do not have any debt with somebody. If, after all, that's why I said, if you really need to have that phone. And I do believe anyone and everyone must have the phone or should have the phone to enjoy the life. I mean, after all, this is the life that we live in. But at the same place, do not sacrifice today's justification. You sacrifice the entire stretch of your financial literacy, and probably you could have done something better, a little bit better compared to this. All right. So anyway, this is the disclaimer I'm saying. I'm not saying smartphones are not okay. Smartphones are not. They are good. They are great. You can be able to acquire them, and they're an amazing gadget that we should have because we connect. You are watching me, and I'm here. We are helping each other. But let me just tell you the truth, not because that I'm perfect, but at least I have something that we can share. It is good to make sure that before you go to any deal, make sure that you value the deal and make sure that you're getting the value for your cash and make sure that you're getting the best option there in town before you invest your thing. I would like your contribution on this video in terms of your comment section. Let me know exactly what you think. Do you agree me on the same, or don't you agree with me on the same? This is an open discussion. Let's have a discussion and let's see what's the best option for us we can do. And maybe perhaps you have a better idea of what someone can be able to do. I said I want to create this platform whereby we can be able to exchange some ideas. And for God's sake, even if we'll never make the world a better place, at least we can make a better place, or rather we can make our pockets a better place. That is exactly what I'm committed for. And you can help me by doing what? By liking this video, by hitting the subscription button, by commenting on the comment section, and sharing this video to people out there if you're in a position to. That way we can take this channel to the next level and we can be able to scratch each other's back. For now, it's a goodbye, but don't forget, you can always grab that number of mine from the description of this specific video. Let's have a discussion, because when we stop talking, that's when we start fighting. For now, it's a goodbye. The number is always on the description of this specific video. For now, it's a goodbye and see you in the next one.